my shoes and out the door. 5, I'm alive. 6, 7, 8, feeling great.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Beyond Your Wildest Genes podcast. This week, our guest is Dr. Leslie Roberts. Dr. Leslie has been serving the public in the fields of chiropractic and craniosacral therapy for the past 23 years. She's immersed herself in the world of nutritional therapy from 2011 after seeing the tremendous changes in her patients' symptoms when they began taking top-quality nutritional supplements. Dr. Roberts has always been passionate about reform in the healthcare system, and her recent experiences have now led her to being passionate about reform in the agricultural system. Let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food has become her mantra as a doctor, and this means in addition to educating the public about top-quality nutritional supplementation, her days include more time in her garden growing food. Welcome, Dr. Leslie Roberts.
Thank you very much, Wanda Lee.
Well, we are going to start by giving our listeners just a little chance to get to know you a bit better. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, I was raised on chiropractic, actually. My mother used to work for a chiropractor when I was little, and so holistic health and preventative health have been a way of life for me since very near the beginning. I live in Prince Rupert, British Columbia, which is a small town in northwestern British Columbia on the coast. I am a happy lady. I'm a wife and a mother of two almost fully grown children, which is really great. We are passionate about sailing, my husband and I, so we're big avid sailors. We love the outdoors, and as you've already said, I like to be out there growing food.
Well, what started you on this road to educating the public about supplement quality?
Well, in chiropractic school, we were taught about nutrition. And so I knew coming out of chiropractic school in the early 90s that we needed to supplement in order to augment the food that we were getting from the grocery store. We were taught about the agriculture industry at that time and how the food growing habits were not providing us with all the nutrients we would need from our produce. So I started taking a supplement when I was in chiropractic school. And I took a supplement for I guess it was about 9 years after I graduated. I was working in a clinic, and I was taking a supplement that we all know about. And you see lots of promotion about it in marketing. I thought, I'm taking the right supplement or good quality supplement. And then one day in my clinic, a woman came in and she asked me if I took supplements, and I said yes. And she showed me this comparative guide and showed me that the product that I was taking at that time was out of a 5-star rating was 1 out of 5 stars. And she was introducing me to this product in this comparative guide that was 5 out of 5 stars. And me being the kind of person that if I'm going to take something, I really want to take the best, I jumped into taking this 5-star product from this comparative guide and have never looked back. So I continued taking my supplement. In our province, we weren't allowed to promote nutrition until just a few years ago. So I would say to my patients, take this or take this or take this, just a couple of things. I've been doing that since the beginning of my practice because I knew it was important. But then about 4 years ago, maybe a little longer than that, I realized that I needed to start bringing nutrition into my practice more. Number one, because we were actually allowed to at that point now. And number two, a lot of my patients were my age, mid to late 40s, and they were falling apart, I'd like to say, even more so, which happens in your 40s. And I knew that I needed to bring that nutritional component in. And I brought in the company that I've been working with myself, high level products. And after a few months of working with my patients more, the changes that I was seeing in them were amazing me. I did not expect to see the changes that I saw in my patients. Not even just in my patients, of course, starting to hang out with other colleagues who are in this industry, hearing their stories and hearing people's stories of the changes that had happened in their own lives, the improvements in not just aches and pains, but improvement in their outlook, their mental emotional state, improvement in things like even irritable bowel. I went, holy cow, this is really cool. And it makes sense. We know that what we put in our mouths should ultimately sustain us. This was just in my face, that something top quality could do so much good for someone. And I have a unique situation here in Prince Rupert where I live, in that Prince Rupert has probably the highest rainfall in Canada, so we have very, very low vitamin D. And there's two other things when it comes to produce. We are the end of the line shipping-wise. One of the key things we know in the nutrition world is that unless you are picking that food out of the ground and you know that that soil is optimally fertilized and has the top quality micronutrients that the produce is grown in, unless you are picking that food from the ground and eating it, you are not eating as healthy as you can. So we are the end of the road shipping-wise, and we live on a small island, which means we actually don't have farms around. We are, as a community, expanding that. We're going to get more farming happening in our community, but the closest farm is about 2 hours away from here. So really no access to high quality produce. So a real unique situation, and I say to people who I live with in here, in this town, we are a group of nutritionally deficient human beings in this community, and if you really want to be optimally functioning, you need to take a supplement living in this town. So I have had a unique opportunity to really see what putting in nutrition to a nutritionally deficient human being can do for them.
Well, and you're in a unique situation in sort of a more remote location, but that's probably true of a lot of people, even in a regular city, with the amount of food that's shipped and trucked from halfway across the world before it ends up in our grocery store. There's access to local food, but many people don't access it.
Absolutely. It's the number one response that I get from people when I talk to them about the need for supplementation. And I know it seems weird, right? I mean, of course we'd all like to be able to have that produce. That's the ideal, and that's part of my passion of reform in agriculture. But when people say, and you know what, they're doing the right thing. They are eating more vegetables, right? They're staying away from processed foods. But really, unless you are picking that food from the ground and it's high quality produce, you're not eating as healthy as you can be. And we're almost kind of blindsided to that reality. So, you're right.
Yeah. And so, supplementation, kind of filling in that gap. Why don't we interject with a little story about a patient here? One of the great things about the podcast and being able to listen is for people to, kind of put themselves in that shoes. Let's say you're a person like, well, let's use me, okay? Mother of two, busy kids, busy lifestyle, two parents working, try to eat really well, but, maybe some weeks that's not as easy to do as others. What are the most common supplements that you think people are lacking in or could use supplementation in some of your cases like that?
Well, I'll give you an example of the cases that I share with people the most. She was a lady who I call my typical patient. Now, not you, because probably not necessarily like this, but it gets to the point of my favorite things that I recommend. So this is my typical patient. She's in her late 40s, early 50s, aches and pains. She's on 2 medications usually. The average person around that age is on 2 medications, usually one for high blood pressure and adult onset diabetes. And what I recommended to her, and these are my favorites, is a multivitamin, a top quality multivitamin, oil, fish oil or omega-6s, which is like a vegetable-based, seed-based oil, and a calcium magnesium. Magnesium's the most important mineral in our body. It gets depleted really quickly these days with our lifestyles. So I, within a few months of this woman taking these products, and she was really keen and I was really excited, I realized that I wasn't seeing her as often as I would in my practice. And I, again, didn't expect that. And, she, after a couple of times of her coming in less frequently, I noticed how excuse me, how much better she was looking. And I started to ask her, how are things going? What are you noticing with these supplements? And she said, you know what? she hasn't had to take her blood pressure medication anymore. And the other condition she had, which is a liver condition for which she was taking the other medication, her liver was stabilizing. And I actually just followed up with a week or so ago because I wanted to, share about this woman and get some feedback from her. And her medication for her liver has not had to change in 3 or 4 years now. And she's feeling great. She looks great. She went off of them for a little while because she, didn't feel she was important enough to invest a little bit more money in her supplements. And her husband made her get back on them because she felt so much better and she was way less cranky when she was on them. So that's sort of my typical patient that I share about because I see it all the time. But again, for someone like you, a good multivitamin, a good oil, and a good calcium magnesium are my favorites. Vitamin D is key. And even a probiotic, that tops up my top 5 favorites for people.
Well, I'm 100% in agreement. That is certainly our top 5 as well when we're dealing with patients, particularly for those of us in northern climates. Now, I know there are people listening to this in 78 countries around the world. Some of you may live in areas where you get a lot more sunshine all year round than we do, but I'm sure Canada isn't the only country either who has a real crisis in vitamin D for much of the year. So that's a great suggestion too. So let's say our listeners want to go out and invest in themselves and find a good quality nutritional supplement. Let's talk about what that means and where they might find it.
Okay. Now, I want to talk a little bit about why we even need a supplement in the first place, if that's okay with you.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
When we're talking about supplementation, we're ultimately talking about cellular health. And we're made up of trillions of cells in our body. And it's all about focusing on ensuring that every single one of those cells in our body is functioning optimally. So there's many different reactions that go on in a cell each and every second of the day. And one of the key reactions and interrelationships that we look at is the relationship between antioxidants and free radicals. And if we're going to look at this relationship, free radicals we'll look at as being the bad guy, and antioxidants are the good guy. Free radicals are responsible for a lot of the destruction of our cells in our body and ultimately responsible for a lot of the chronic diseases that happen in our body, including cancer, cardiovascular disease, adult onset diabetes. So if we're looking at a comparison of between now and say 20 plus years ago and how that relationship between antioxidants and free radicals has played out, we see that the free radicals have increased in our world and in our bodies for several different reasons. So let's look at this comparison. Free radicals come about from things like pollution. So if we're looking at the state of the union around pollution now compared to 20 or 30 years ago, we have more pollution now than we did 20 or 30 years ago. So we add a little notch to the fact that there's more free radicals in our body because of the fact that pollution is worse. Stress creates more free radicals in our body. Comparing now to 20 plus 30 years ago, most of us can say that stress has increased in our lives. Absolutely. So another notch on the fact that there's more free radicals in our system because of what's happened in our world. Toxins that we ingest, insecticides, herbicides, pesticides, etc., those induce free radicals into our body, which can cause destruction and chronic disease. Again, now compared to 20, 30 years ago, worse, another notch on the increase of the free radicals. And radiation. How many Wi-Fi links can you access at any given time at any place now compared to 20 or 30 years ago? Radiation increases our free radicals in our system, so another notch on the free radicals. So we see when it comes to looking at the bad guys affecting our cellular health, it's increased considerably. Now when we look at the good guys, and antioxidants are good guys, many people in the nutritional world or even have heard about antioxidants. Antioxidants are things like vitamin C that we put on our lemons to stop them from rusting, and that's an oxidation process. We get our antioxidants, which are the good guys, from high quality produce, fruits and vegetables. So if we're looking now compared to 20, 30 plus years ago, how is our access to high quality produce, fruits and vegetables? We're going to actually say it's gone down. So when we have this boost in creation of free radicals and actually a decreasing in the level of antioxidants that we're getting in our body. And if it's the antioxidants that protect against free radical formation in our body, we can see that there is this huge gap, this big gap that's happened in our world. And that's where the supplement comes in, to fill in that gap, as you said. For example, there was a study done in 2009 in the United States, and they looked at the umbilical cord blood of 10 newborns. And out of those 10, all of those 10 newborns, they found 232 chemicals in the blood of the umbilical cord. So from day one, we're having this bombardment of free radical creation in our bodies. So, and we need to know that every cell can repair itself in our body. Every single cell can repair itself. And that's where the world of supplements comes in for now, and ultimately down the line, ideally, getting these micronutrients from our food.
Absolutely. And that's the important thing, because so many people know that they're kind of past that point of balance in terms of the free radical and the antioxidants. They were either already experiencing poorer health or cancer or, lack of energy or muscle breakdown or joint breakdown. So they already know they've let it go too far. But the encouraging thing of knowing that you can rebuild that and it's not too late, I think is a message that sometimes gets lost on the public. And I'm really happy to hear you say that.
Absolutely, absolutely. We've seen that as chiropractors, how miraculous our bodies, how amazing our bodies are that they can heal, and people need to know that. They really need to know how capable our bodies are of healing.
Absolutely. So to get that healing, both avoiding those toxins and reducing the toxic load is important, but we know there's only so much control we have over those things like pollution and stress and radiation. I mean, it's just there. It's in our environment. So we need to up the balance on the good side and look for products that are going to help repair and restore that equilibrium.
Absolutely.
So where can we go for those?
Well, okay. So when I was looking at this concept and topic, I decided, and prepping for this podcast, I decided that I would pretend I was a layperson out there and go online, check out the products I was taking, see if I could find out online the quality and the ratings on the products that I'm taking. And as I started to do this, I realized that it's a bit of a convoluted process. It can feel like you're going down a rabbit hole, and you can tell there's a little bit of politics involved. So I'm realizing that this is a real fledgling situation with respect to the fact that the industry is still finding its way in this, and governments and regulatory bodies are finding their way. There's a lot of acronyms out there, NSF and NPN and FDA, and it can get a little confusing. So there are things that you can look for. There are qualities in supplements that you can look for. And one of the key qualities you want to look for is bioavailability. Does it actually dissolve in your body and get to the cells? So they've done studies on bioavailability. For example, 2006 at the University of Alberta, in the Faculty of Pharmacy, they did a study just on this whole topic. And they looked at products both available in the United States and Canada. What they found was 21 out of 39 tablets and 4 out of 10 capsules did not disintegrate within 20 minutes of being soaked in fluid. And this is a key thing. We want these products to actually get to our cells, and many of them don't. There's other qualities to look for as well, but one of the key things that as I looked, and I knew about this before, but as I said, I wanted to look and see what I could find, is that number one, you're going to get what you pay for. That's a given in the industry. The higher quality products are going to be a little bit more expensive, and interestingly and wonderfully enough, they're not that much more expensive. But if you're going to get a top quality product, you're going to pay more. And the other thing that you want to really focus on and look for is, and the reason that I am almost so adamant about what I do, is we don't want you to be harmed by these products. So the higher quality product you get could be less harmful for you than a not higher quality product. And as doctors, right, as healthcare practitioners, that's one of our underlying themes is do no harm. So that's the other thing to keep in the back of your mind, is that the higher quality product you're going to get, the odds are high it's going to be less harmful. And I don't want to, you know, sound the alarms, but it's a key thing we need to remember. So the one thing you want to look for in a product, if you want top quality, is something called pharmaceutical grade or pharmaceutical quality. And what that means is that the companies that have created these pharmaceutical grade products have a facility that is assessed and monitored as much as a pharmaceutical industry's facility would be assessed. So their standards are to the level of that of a pharmaceutical company, which means they are potency guaranteed. So you want to see words like potency guaranteed in there. And that means that what's in them is in them. You can imagine if a pharmaceutical product didn't have exactly what it said in it, it could be harmful to you. There's a handful of companies in North America that are potency guaranteed pharmaceutical grade products. One of the interesting things I noted when I was doing the search too was the fact that some companies have some products that are pharmaceutical grade and some not. So that's the other thing that was new for me. You know, I assumed that if it's a pharmaceutical grade company, or that they would have all their products. So even some individual products can be pharmaceutical grade. The majority of supplements out there and available in the market are called food grade supplements, which means they don't have to have exactly in them what says on the label. So you want to look for pharmaceutical grade. And I just...
Well, and that explains for a lot of people when they probably say the same thing to you as they've said to me. You know, I tried fish oil and it didn't help.
Right. Absolutely. I one of the sites I looked at, and here we go, maybe getting a little political, but they were saying, it was a good site actually, because they talked about the difference between pharmaceutical grade and food grade. But the chat, I think it was a guy, anyway, said, you know, sure, you pay more for a higher quality pharmaceutical grade fish oil, you know, but if you know that a medium grade fish oil, you know, can have the same benefits, then why not take that, right? And this was where the do no harm comes in. But it's, you know what, again, I really believe in taking the best you can. But you're absolutely right about that. You know, like there are, I see differences. My own example, you know, I took an oil that was a well-known oil, very well-known oil. Okay, not a fish oil, but a vegetarian oil. I had a fracture in my foot from 10 years ago. It was always achy painy. And then I switched to the higher quality oil and it was gone. And I hear that time and time again when people have been taking an oil for achy joints that didn't work for them, and then they take a higher quality and the ache goes away.
Well, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And I wanted to share a little bit about the independent groups that are out there that are doing a lot of the work for you. Because I gave you the one example of bioavailability. There's several things that one would look at, but as a layperson, I want to have you be able to access, you know, this information as rather than becoming a scientist. And so there are independent organizations out there that have done assessments on different products in different ways, and it's handy to have those around. And one of the things that you'll notice with these different organizations that have looked at different products is that those top 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 products are going to be fairly consistent across the board with those different assessments. So that's really handy to know. You know, and it's comforting to know that you'll see the consistency of these higher quality products across the board. And they range, you know, they looked at maybe out of 10, they look at maybe out of 5 stars. Those are really helpful guides for people when you're looking for a quality product.
Let's talk a little bit about independent research.
Right.
Where can our listeners find out if the supplement they're taking is a good and effective one, or if they should be looking at something different?
Yes, so there are some independent groups out there, absolutely, that are doing the work for us. And as I had said, there are certain criteria that one wants to look at, such as bioavailability, when you're picking a product. And we could talk about those more, but that's really becoming a scientist. And this talk for me was wanting to make it as easy as possible for the public to get a better idea of quality of products. So one of the things you're going to notice with these independent organizations that have done some studies is that those top 5, 6, 7 products that are higher quality are going to be fairly consistent across those organizations' information, which is great. It means there is some that the quality assessment is working. You know, that these higher quality products are consistently high through those organizations. And you're going to find that some will be rating out of 10, some will be rating out of 5, but it's going to really help you. And they will show you also, say, down to 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 5 stars as well, the different rating gradations of the different products that are available. So some of those independent organizations include a company called NutriSearch, which is actually a company out of British Columbia here in Canada. And another key one out of the States is a company called Consumer Labs. Now, you want to even look at these independent assessment organizations yourself. You know, look at the information they have and do your homework yourself. You know, do your homework yourself to ascertain what they're saying and where that fits in with the products that you're taking. For example, it was NutriSearch. It was that book that was put on my desk 15 years ago that changed my life ultimately, because it was from that NutriSearch guide that I saw that USANA was top rated, that I started using USANA, and I have no regrets. I pinch myself every day, and my family. I pinch my family every day for seeing, you know, how they've helped my children grow to be these amazing beings that they are. So take advantage of these independent organizations as part of your guide for when you're looking for the best supplement that you want to take.
That's wonderful. So that's been a wonderfully informative session. If there's one thing that you could leave our listeners with to sort of focus on, is there anything you want to sort of sum up with?
Again, you're going to get what you pay for. It's something you need to appreciate. I really wish people would invest more in themselves than they do. It's the number one thing I think most of us in holistic health, you know, would wish for the people we work with, is that you would start to take more time and more investment in yourself, because that's ultimately the key to health, in my opinion, is making yourself number one and investing more in yourself. Look for potency guarantee. You know, this is a piece I didn't talk about, and this is a great closing case. One of my colleagues, when someone shows her a new product and she doesn't know much about them, she'll phone the company. She'll phone them and say, hey, you know what? Are you potency guaranteed? Are you pharmaceutical grade? You know, do what it takes to really find out. Be an advocate for this whole movement to higher quality supplements. You know, ask for help. Ask for help from your healthcare practitioners. Ask for help from people that you know are more educated on this topic, you know, than you are. Yeah, and if you want to ask me any questions, you can always get in contact with me. So there you go.
That's wonderful. And Dr. Leslie's information will be on our website, as well as attached to the little blurb in iTunes about this presentation. So thank you, Dr. Leslie, for sharing your knowledge and helping us help other people create a healthier life. We really appreciate your information and your passion for what you do. And thanks to everyone who's listening for attending our session this week and enjoying Beyond Your Wildest Genes podcast. There's over 53,000 of you around the world as of this taping, and I'm sure by the time it airs, there will be even more than that. It is a pleasure to give people the opportunity to live life better, and it's been amazing to see so many people embrace and embody that passion that we have. So if you'd like to share this podcast with others, please spread the word. Our weekly experts are available for free on iTunes, on our website at www.centerforepigeneticexpression.com, or online by searching Beyond Your Wildest Genes podcast. Thanks, everyone, and have a great week.